What to say about Bartholomew Kuma, the Tyrant? I feel like in order to properly sum up his character, I need to put this in Kuma's own words. Kuma doesn't talk very much when you really think about it. He doesn't need to, though, because he's kind of an imposing man on his own. Kuma is one of the only three warlords that have maintained the title throughout the entire series, as in the original 7 that were introduced up until the present storyline. He, along with Mihawk and Hancock, have never had their title revoked or anything like that. Although, I don't know if you want to consider him still the same guy, considering, you know, he got turned into a robot and had all of his humanity removed from him. But aside from that, he's the same basic dude. So his epitaph is the Tyrant. Now, I don't know if the Tyrant, if that's going to refer to something beyond just his stature, because he's a very imposing man. I think he's the tallest member of the Warlords. I think he's like 22 feet tall or something like that. It's absurd. I think Moria might have been a little taller, but Moria is no longer a part. So I don't know if that's just where the epitaph comes from, the Tyrant, or if it's like he's done some serious fucked up shit before, and that's how he got the title as well. It's interesting, too, because his backstory does not involve him being a pirate, and that the government approached him and is like, alright, you're a pirate, well, we'll make you a warlord so you can keep on being a pirate just with, like, government permissions and stuff. No, Kuma was a revolutionary. Basically, I guess you could say the revolutionaries aren't exactly pirates because their sole goal is to overthrow the world government. Their actions may align with piracy. They might do, you know, they may be aligned with other pirates, you know, because it's like the similar cause, or they might, you know, blow up some shit like pirates would do, but their sole cause is to overthrow the government, whereas pirates' main goal is just to go around and pillage and, you know, live the pirate life, you know? So, we actually don't know a lot of stuff about Kuma's past. I mean, we do, but it's like stuff that's hinted at. Kuma's not the kind of character that comes out and talks about, it's like, alright, allow me to explain to you how I was drafted into the government. You know, like that's not how he does things. And so we know, like, certain fragments of his past, and he's an interesting character, certainly. It's just that there's no elaboration. There's no exposition on, okay, how did we get from revolutionary Kuma fighting against the world government, aligned with Dragon and Ivankov, to, hey, I'm now a warlord, one of the high-ranking members of the world government, and hey, you can turn me into a robot and remove all my humanity, and so I can attack and kill my friends if need be. Yeah, we don't need a connecting point between those two. Let's just go with it. I have a theory on that. I have a theory on the reasoning, at least why he chose to become a warlord and why he decided to, you know, have Vegapunk transform him into a human weapon, basically. But aside from that, let's discuss his loyalty to the government right now. Because when we were first introduced to Kuma, right after Alabasta, the Marines were having a meeting trying to decide, all right, Crocodile, you know, is no longer a warlord. Who's going to be the next warlord? And you had Kuma and Doflamingo arrive at the Holy Land, Marijois, to attend this meeting. And Sengoku says something akin to, oh, 2 of the warlords. Well, that's more than I expected. So it's very obvious, like, the only warlord that actually obeys the government, like, very loyally and understands, like, all right, when we call, you're going to come, you know, that's Kuma. And I feel like for the reason because of this is Kuma is their infiltrator agent. He's their sleeper. He's their undercover guy for the Revolutionary Army. And it's pretty obvious at a few points. The only thing that kind of blows a hole in this is why he had his humanity removed. But I think that Vegapunk's going to be in on this too as well. But it's very obvious because, you know, Kuma, despite the loyalty to the government for whatever reason, he never really followed through with his order to kill the Straw Hats. He still has, this was back before he was transformed into a cyborg, but, you know, he was ordered on Thriller Bark, you know, just get rid of the Straw Hats, okay, because they've been causing us problems. They defeated Crocodile. Now they've defeated Moria. We can't handle these guys anymore. You're loyal to the government. We know you're the most loyal, so just kick their asses and just leave. And then so, you know, Kuma had every intention of doing that, but he chose not to, because of the actions of his crew and because of the actions of Zoro. You know, the very, famous moment with Zoro, probably the most famous moment of Zoro's entire character, where he, is like, just take me instead, and Kuma's like, that's fine, but I will let you see hell. He had every intention of doing it, but he still, in that situation, had a sense of respect for Luffy and Zoro and the crew, and he decided to leave them be. Shortly thereafter, he was turned into a PX, a humanized weapon, basically a robot. I guess I would say cyborg. He might still have some organic shit in there, but considering his brain has been completely overridden, and he's now just a computer, then I can't really consider him. He's not the same as Frankie, certainly. And in regards to that, really quick, he is what would be considered, like, a true cyborg, or, like, before he had his humanity removed. Like, this is a true human weapon, because Frankie, remember, Frankie didn't have a high-tech lab to, initially transform his body into a cyborg. Frankie was hanging out on just a random scrap island, and he was like, alright, I just got killed by a train. Oh, wait, I'm still alive. Okay, well, I'm bleeding out and I'm dying. Let's just take a bunch of random scrap metal, cut myself open, and turn myself into a cyborg. That is 115% medically accurate. Okay, I mean, I understand it's a manga, but there's still some moments where I'm looking at that and I'm just like, that's bullshit. There's no stretch of the imagination that I can figure that out. But anyway, Vega Punk, who is the head scientist of the world government, he had a full-fledged lab, and he is way more intelligent than Frankie, and he's like the foremost mind on the planet, and he had all these fucking resources. So when he makes a cyborg, he does it freaking right. So my theory on this is that Vegapunk is also a member of the Revolutionary Army, or at least he's sympathetic to their cause. Now, I don't know whether or not Vegapunk was originally a member of the Revolutionary Army, or if after he became part of the government, he decided, because we don't know much about Vegapunk just in general, but he decided, oh, the government's doing this nefarious shit, so I'm going to start aligning with the Revolutionary Army. Maybe that's how Kuma got in. Maybe he fed a way to, get Kuma into the world government or something like that. Because I don't see the world government accepting a revolutionary into their midst unless it's like a big... there has to be a large, like, exception going on here. Something had to happen that was big. Because pirates, like I said, they're just pirates. They're like, okay, these guys are pillaging and they're really strong, so it would be best if we take them on our side. But Kuma's like, alright, so there's a guy that is trying to overthrow the government. Let's try to bring them into the government, because that probably won't have any ill effect. Something had to go down in Kuma's past. Either he made it look like he was maybe a double agent for the Revolutionary Army. Maybe he looked like, oh, this Kuma guy killed a bunch of revolutionaries. He double-crossed them. Come to the government, our child. Maybe something like that. I don't know. Maybe Vegapunk pulled some strings. I don't know. I want to know the circumstances. That's one of the biggest mysteries of his character, probably the biggest, how he went from revolutionary to being a warlord. But beyond that, after he got into the government, after he became a warlord, Vegapunk and him probably hatched some scheme to be like, all right, I'm gonna experiment on you, and I'm gonna change you into a modified human. And you're gonna have all this power and everything, and I guess maybe part of this is he had to remove his humanity, but there is a switch to this. If Vegapunk was the one programming his brain, organizing all, like, how he thinks and everything like that, Vegapunk is a pretty smart dude. I wouldn't think it would be impossible for him to somehow program, like, it's like, alright, after, like Kuma's personality could come back, you know what I mean? Like, that's some serious science fiction bullshit right there. Like, oh, I've converted your thoughts and your feelings and personality into a computer program. But I could totally, like, I just described to you Frankie and his bullshit sci-fi, how he turned himself into a cyborg. So, this is completely possible. And they had to play along with the government. They had to play along to make it, oh no, I'm building a super weapon that's going to have no feelings and no emotions. And I'm just going to have him, just destroy all the pirates, with absolutely no prejudice. So that's the situation with Kuma. We've seen this before when he talked to Rayleigh and he let them know, what he was doing on Shiboni, how he was sending away the Straw Hats, he wasn't killing them. And then again, later on, after the time skip, when he ordered Vegapunk, to program that very specific algorithm in his brain, like, protect the Thousand Sunny at all costs. Do you seriously think that if Vegapunk was, like, a loyal member of the government, and Kuma told him, hey, I want you to program a software thing in my brain that after I get turned into a cyborg, that to protect one of the most nefarious pirate ships in the world from getting destroyed or being, attacked by the government. Do you really think that Vegapunk, if it was completely loyal, would have been like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna do that, and I won't tell a single person. I don't think that. So Vegapunk's in on this shit too. Vegapunk and Kuma were in on this together. Dragon might be in on this too. Ivankov obviously not, because Ivankov was in prison, and this might be like a really higher up thing. This might be just Dragon knows about it. There might not even be a guarantee that Sabo knows about it. But remember when Ivankov was calling Dragon after the war, and we don't really get to hear the whole conversation. We only hear Dragon saying, Dragon's like, oh, all right, thanks, Ivankov, for telling me about Kuma. Anyway, what's going on with this? He didn't really expand on it too much. He didn't go and it's like, what? Kuma's a cyborg? What the fuck? Okay, let me know what, he's just like, yeah, all right, thanks for telling me about Kuma. Okay, so Dragon knows something too. Vegapunk is in on it, and it's all part of some probably massive subterfuge to take out the world government from inside. That's probably the overall theme we're talking about here for Kuma. Okay, Devil Fruit powers. So, Kuma ate the Paw fruit. A very innocent fruit. One of those fruits that are like, paw pads. What could you possibly do with those? So many people died. Oh. So, his paw pads allow him to reject any form of matter or substance or gas or liquid or solid or pretty much anything he wants. He can reject it. What does this rejecting mean? Well, obviously, if someone comes charging at him, tries to punch him, Kuma just has to hold out his paw. Anything that comes in contact with the fist gets sent flying, 100 meters in the opposite direction. It doesn't matter if it's sharp. We saw Zoro try to cut him. You can't cut the pads. Anything that comes in contact with these pads gets sent flying in the opposite direction. Doesn't matter how strong it is. Doesn't matter how sharp it is. Hockey, maybe. We don't know. Haven't seen Hockey really stand up to Kuma's paw pads, but Hockey is probably something Kuma can use as well. So, it's just, a matter of which Hockey is stronger, and he would probably still be able to do the same thing. Beyond just simply rejecting physical matter, he can also reject things like pain and agony. He grabbed Luffy, who was heavily beaten after his battle with Moria, pressed the paw pads against him, and he rejected all of Luffy's exhaustion and pain and things that are not tangible, and forced it out of his body into a giant bubble, to which, Zoro then took on the pain as well. His most devastating attacks, though, and the ones that are the most clever, is that he can reject the air itself. So basically, when he puts both of his hands up, he can take, a big pocket of air and constantly reject that, forcing it down into a very compacted ball, and then release it at once, creating a giant fuck-off explosion. And so he can do that. He did that with the Straw Hats on Thriller Bark, pretty much wiped out the entire castle. He did that with Oars Jr., a huge giant, bigger than your average giant, and he just fucking just dropped him immediately with that attack. So, a very imposing ability. Something, though, that I feel like we haven't seen the full potential of yet, I guess I should say. But even if we did, even if we saw everything that the Paw fruit is capable of, that's not the only weapon he has in his arsenal. Kuma, also because he's a cyborg experimented on by Vegapunk, has the ability to shoot lasers out of his mouth, as the same as all the other pacifistas, with the exception of his hands, because with the pacifistas, they have the laser cannon in their hands as well, but Kuma has the paw pads, so they couldn't install them there, so he just, apparently he can only shoot them out of his mouth. I don't know if he could shoot them out of his eyes, or, somewhere else. He's a pretty tanky guy, so it'd be cool for him to, unzip his jacket, because his jacket is shaped like a freaking like a giant target, like a crosshairs. So it would be awesome if he unzips the thing and it's just like a giant laser cannon just extends out of his like chest cavity and just BAM! You know, like that's like the ultimate laser cannon he has. That would be so cool. Oda loves lasers and like other like Super Sentai shit, so I hope that happens in the future. That would be pretty cool. Beyond this, like, you may notice I'm not really talking about a lot of Kuma's like personality himself beyond him being a revolutionary. Like I said, it's just because we don't know a lot about him. He's a man of few words. He knows when to keep his mouth shut. And the only time he's really done anything that is of interest on his own is the times I described, when he saved the Straw Hats, when he was fighting like against like there's Kizaru and there's Sentomaru and there's everybody there, and on Sabaody, and he's sending them all off, and they're all like, "What the hell are you doing, Kuma?" And Kuma's just like, "It doesn't concern you. I'll do whatever I please." There's like that's like the only time he's ever really said anything worth it. And once again, like Hancock, they don't really. In his case, it makes more sense why they don't care. Why Kizaru's not like, "What the fuck? You're letting them get away. What's wrong with you? You're a warlord. I'm gonna kill your ass." You know, well, Kizaru wouldn't do that anyway. Kizaru's a pretty laid-back dude himself. But there's a reason why, you know, they don't do that anyway with Kuma, because Kuma is going to be a PX0 anyway, so it's just like, well, whatever. After you get your humanity removed, you won't be making these controversial judgment calls anymore anyway. And they're like the secret weapon now. You know, and that's the reason why the pacifistas even have like they all look like Kuma. That's a very imposing method to scare the shit out of pirates, you know. Just all like make robots and a robotic army that all look the same as one of the most feared men in your entire army. It would make sense why you would design them like that. Apparently the pacifistas have also been upgraded a bit from what I recall, but we haven't really seen the pacifistas beyond like the original models. So it would be cool to see maybe later on when we get further down the line, we'll see like maybe the pacifistas have been upgraded in some way. Maybe incorporating Kuma's own devil fruit power. Maybe Vegapunk figured out a way to like multiply devil fruit powers. Like you could say that with the Pika Pika no Mi with Kizaru's light powers. If he figured out a way to like mass produce the light powers into the robots. Like the power itself. Well, I guess it wouldn't be the power itself because they're not Logia users. But just like the ability to shoot lasers. So there's something going on here that Vegapunk is at least able to, you know, like take a specific devil fruit attack and then mass produce that on a scale and put it into robots. That's pretty cool. But yeah, the last thing I gotta say about Kuma. He always carries a Bible around with him. Now, the thing with Oda is that he does things that, you know, he'll design a character very quirky, you know, very interesting, like, oh, Kuma always carries around a Bible. You might always think, like, oh, that's just a neat little quirk that he has. He just carries around. He's just a very religious guy. What are you going to do? But I'm in the opinion that that's going to call back to something. It's not going to be a regular Bible. There's something in there. There's something with that book that he always carries around. You know, it might not be like something really important, but it might be something that's just like, it's not going to be like, oh, by the way, I'm going to open up this Bible and like, oh, there's something hidden inside here. You know, something along those lines, you know? Or I don't know. I don't even know. But I feel like there's more to it than just like a quirky character design. That there's going to be something else going on with that book that might harken back to the Revolutionary Army in some way. But anyway, thanks for watching this video talking about Kuma. Next one, I believe, is, yes, it is Moria, which makes sense because they're the two tallest. I think Moria is like an inch or so taller than them, but they're roughly the same size. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Later. Signing out.